What's up, everybody? It's your boy Uchi here with Mr. HouseTop and the lovely QT-PYE for this week's episode of the Super Sentai Minicast. Of course, it is always a pleasure to host this every week that an episode comes out. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll expand into doing like integrating Kamen Rider into this. Maybe in the future. Don't hold it.
Is it in the middle of the season right now?
Yeah, that would require us to like catch up with Build, because that's the latest Kamen Rider season. So I know that's a lot harder for us to do. That's why I said maybe, but you know.
All right. Well, when the next one comes around,
that won't be until the fall season, I believe. So all right, but anyway, yeah. So this week we had episode 5, targeted the International Police, was the episode title. Pretty good episode, I will say. Before I say anything, I want to hear the thoughts from my self-proclaimed Uchi Rangers. I can't believe I actually went along with saying that, because you suggested it, and then someone commented on the last week's episode that it totally should be known as the Uchi Rangers. But I'm just like, I don't know. That to me, that's hella self-absorbed, and I'm not about that life. So,
bruh. Your name, the channel name is Uchi Game.
I know, but that's completely different. That's like a play on words, like I play games. Like that was the but yeah, I don't know, whatever. So go ahead, House. Tell us.
It could be like the Game Ranger.
The game. That's actually pretty sick.
I would like Game Blue. All right, so I love this episode. Actually, this is really good. I feel like this had the most like drama built into it so far, especially with the way it ended.
Oh yeah.
Both Reds, or well, not between them, but like with both of them being like red. Like, I really like that. Like I like that it's now they're like starting to butt heads.
Yeah.
And it's friction between them, and they lost the Gangler, and both of them were like really like choked up over it. They're like both like getting pretty heated about it. So I don't know. Next episode, I'm really looking forward to seeing them clash again, because from the preview, like it's about to go down. Like I think they're about to. It's going to come to a head, and I think it's going to be like team versus team, like 1-on-1, rather than like, oh, we're all here to fight the Gangler. Oh, but now we are here to fight you too. I think it's going to be more like a battle of the Rangers.
Okay, so that's some predictions you have, and that's basically the good things you liked. So anything this week that you didn't like?
Not really. Yeah, no, not really at all. Because they introduced the second-hand dude, Bakugo's granddaddy. I can't remember what his name is. And they showed off what he could do with his hammer and stuff. He's got like that explosive hammer that just shoots missiles out of it. And then he was able to throw up a Gangler that was just like out of whatever that was. It looked like a pineapple, and he freaking threw it, and it blew up into this giant Gangler. And they had to fight it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, there's nothing that I didn't really like this episode.
Yeah. All right, QT-PYE, talk to me. What'd you like? What you didn't like? Any predictions? Let us hear it.
So I really liked this episode. Like House was saying, I liked all the drama and like the build-up and butting heads and clashing that took place. But I really liked the Gangler, the boss of the episode. And I'm really curious about what's going to happen next with the 2 Red Rangers, mainly because of how it ended and how the Red Ranger on the police side kind of seemed, in the preview, he seemed kind of like vengeful and angry, and kind of just questioning everything that he stands for, like why he's a part of the police in the first place. So I think that's going to be an interesting story to follow.
Oh yeah.
I'm really curious about how the Patrangers are going to get the bike trigger machine back, or if they're even going to pursue that piece, and what Destra's up to. And honestly, like, I'm really curious to know if like he's working with any of the people responsible for like everyone being frozen.
Yeah.
those are my thoughts. I don't really have any dislikes for this episode.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah, this one was actually really good all around. I would say. It had a lot of positive things that happened that kind of overlooked anything that would have been bad. So my whole 2 cents for this week's is that going along with what both of you guys were saying is the simple fact that there really wasn't anything bad about this episode. And to be honest, I actually felt like this episode was more on the even terms as far as seeing like enough Patrangers along with the Lupinrangers. It wasn't like a Lupin-centric episode or a Pato-centric episode. It was a really good blend of both. They did a really good job with episode 5 kind of balancing it out, which we can tell from, you know, the previous 4 that some episodes might lean towards one team than the other, and that's due to like many different things. You know, especially in shows like this that have, you know, a big cast, you can't always have everyone, you know, they all can't have the same amount of screen time. Especially like with, you know, shows like Q-Ranger, which is the last season's team. It was a 9 Ranger team. Base team was 9. Q is actually the word for 9. So that's a fun fact for those that didn't even know. And you know,
I even knew that, and I didn't even.
Yo, right? Yeah, they did a good job, like slipping that little John in there, but and the way they worked around it was because, you know, it was a Sentai that never was done like in that kind of fashion before. They had the roulette system where it was like each episode the Rangers would kind of have like a random chance at being featured in that episode's mission, and then they would at least send 5 or 6 to go out and fulfill the mission, while the other like 3 or 4, you know, depending on how far in the season you are, because obviously they get more than 9. They kind of stay back at the base, or they're off doing something else, or they're written off the episode in that sense. You know, oh, like, we're gonna handle this or whatever. And then, you know, depending on like where they're at in the season, they go and, you know, they all might meet up again, and you'll see them towards the end. But again, it's all like, you know, budgeting. And I feel like I only bring this up from Q-Ranger because being that this is it's like a 2-for-1 deal this season, right? It's like we're technically getting 2 teams. Well, we are getting 2 teams, but it's like the way they're handling it. It's like, you know, it's one show. However, it's, you know, it's 2. It's very weird to explain it, just because of the fact that it's like, you know, when I gather you guys just to watch this episode, I'm like, hey, let's watch. You guys ready for some Lupinranger? Like, I don't say the whole thing. You know, I don't say Lupinranger versus Patranger. That's too long. Like, you don't do that. So yeah, so going along with all that stuff, like, yeah, they did a really good job kind of splitting it up, divvying it up between both teams for episode 5. And one of my favorite parts was obviously the Red Rangers fighting. Going off of what both of you guys were saying, I love the butting of the heads. I love the drama. I love and it's weird because at the same time I almost thought that they were going to kind of rush them getting into a more of a mutual relationship rather than like okay, we're fighting for the same thing kind of thing, even though we have different ideals. And I also look at this scenario, and I almost see where the direction of this show might end up going, and that's that in life there are always going to be different ways to approach something and different ways to go about it and to think about it. But at the end of the day, we all might have, you know, the same common interest or common goal, whether, you know, I take a right versus you taking a left. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that might be the ultimate, like, takeaway from this series as a whole. You know, we'll probably see, you know, how it develops, because I can imagine later down the line that they will obviously, you know, get onto some, you know, terms where they will, you know, they won't be fighting each other, rather than, you know, they're after the Gangler and then them at the same time. It's like they're gonna just meet up, fight the Gangler, and then maybe, you know, go about their separate ways or whatever. And they might never actually truly do a full on, like, you know, okay, we're boys now, because, you know, again, they're butting heads. They see things in their own way. And who knows, maybe they'll get to the point where, you know, what was it, Kairi and Keiichiro, those are the two Reds for this season. They'll come to an understanding, and they'll be like, they'll learn a little bit more about each other's backstory and why they are the way that they are, which is a really good segue into, especially for Keiichiro, because next week, episode 6, which is titled "What Is It That You Protect," looks like it's going to be more of a Patranger centric episode, and it looks interesting because, you know, we got the Pink Ranger giving the good old backhanded slap to Red Ranger's face, trying to give him that classic anime wake up call.
Yeah, dude.
You know,
I don't know if you noticed in the end too, in the preview when they were showing the Zord for the fight at the end of it, they were using the helicopter piece.
Ah, yeah. So a lot of good things to look forward to for next week, for sure. I'm really looking forward to that. Also, I also to just go back to finishing up what I was saying before about the episode 5 as a whole. The one thing I guess I didn't like, even though we were saying there's really nothing that we didn't like, there's like a minor thing, minor, was that, and this is probably just me, but I thought that we were gonna see the two new pieces combined with Good Striker, and
Yeah.
I thought, and then I'm like, because I figured, okay, like this could probably work, but then it was like, oh nah, they're just two separate, and like it's not even like because for this episode we did get only a Patranger Gatai. We didn't get the Lupinranger Gatai as well. We only got the Patranger version, and I thought that they would, if that was gonna happen, they were gonna at least get or use the piece that they had, but obviously it was too late as a result of what happened in the episode, because Lupin Red, Kairi, he won the exchange between himself and Keiichiro when they were both fighting in the separate pieces, and Kairi won, and then he knocked Keiichiro out of the helicopter piece, which then resulted in the helicopter piece to kind of just shrink itself, and he just caught it. So I was like, okay, that works. So that's how they got it. Ending was awesome because they end it with Kairi looking up at the moon and Keiichiro kind of like looking down at his desk, and they're both like just struggling because they, again, with the whole butting heads theme, they just don't understand each other because of their own morale and their way of life and how they think, you know, you should go about it. Like, you should go about the justice route versus the I have to do whatever I have to do route, you know, which in, you know, some cases is not bad, but obviously it's like, you know, it can't really be applied to everything. But in this situation, you know, obviously it's a freaking kids show. They're not killing anybody. They're not like actually steal. Oh, yo, right? They're not actually. Yeah, well, they're not. You know, they're not really. They're not stealing anything for any personal gain. Like, they're stealing the Lupin collection pieces back from the Ganglers, just so that they can, you know, bring back all of their deceased, you know, loved ones and whatnot. So again, this series has been, you know, proving its worth. Even 5 episodes in, there's a lot of potential, a lot of growth, and you know, a lot of things. And I personally, I can't wait to see how they implement the new Rangers coming up. I always give a shout out to the new Rangers because, you know your boy loves his big team group Johns and all that stuff. Like, I love when more extra Rangers get added to the mix. I'm sure that'll just make things a little bit more interesting and all that kind of stuff. I just hope it doesn't ruin any of the dynamic that each team has already. But, you know, we'll get to that point once we get across there. So I realized I went on. I mean, this is a good-ass episode, so, you know, I kind of had to go in for this episode on the minicast. So I will leave.
I don't feel bad about that.
Yeah, I will leave this up to you guys. If you guys have anything else you want to add, anything you're looking forward to before we wrap this episode up.
We really covered all the bases,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as far as what we thought was going to happen, everything like that. I'm just really excited to see what we get next week. Hopefully, we can actually watch it on time next week too.
Oh yeah. It was a pretty busy week this week. So, but yeah, this is, you know, I obviously want this to be a continuous thing. You know,
so Uchi Rangers out here saving the world, or I'm sorry, Gameu Rangers.
Gameu Ranger. I personally like Gameu Ranger better than Uchi Rangers because
It'll be Uchi Sentai, Gameu Rangers.
Oh my god. All right, well, it's a working title. I'll say that much. But
Yeah.
so that just about wraps it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you guys can go ahead, check out the description below, follow us on Twitter, let me know what you guys thought about this week's episode and the minicast and anything that you might be looking forward to in the future from us, especially, you know, if we were to expand the minicast to maybe other tokusatsus, possibly. We'll see. Fun fact, for those that don't already know, and I will have a wish list ready for any generous donors of the channel, that the Lupin collection Zord pieces are actually on Amazon already. So I'll leave it at that, and hope to hear you guys soon. Definitely like, share, subscribe, comment below. Check us out on Twitter, Discord, and on Twitch. And
Especially on Discord.
And I'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.